Hey, everybody, we are back with the Conservation Conversation. Very excited because today we get to talk to Thulani, one of my good friends and an amazing filmmaker from South Africa. And today we're going to talk about his projects and his views on why these things are important, and also the challenges that independent filmmakers do make. We face every day. So, how's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining us. You know, it's really great to have the show back on. We had to take a little bit of a break to get a couple things done, and happy that we are back. And this is the most amazing first episode to come back in and to have Thulani with us today. So, without much further ado, let's go ahead and start the show up. All right. So, we tried to speak with Thulani last week. We had some technical issues. Thulani and I got that all worked out. And so what I want to do is just jump right into it today because there's so many questions I have, and I encourage everybody to ask questions to Thulani directly, and so we can learn more about his projects and about his efforts and how we can assist with everything. What I would like to do would be to start with a quote. We always start with a quote, and we're going to repeat the quote from last time because unfortunately it didn't work out. But today's quote is, here we go. If we do not do something to prevent it, Africa's animals and the places in which they live will be lost to our world and her children forever. The ever amazing Nelson Mandela. So that is really important, because Africa has had a long history of countries coming in and interfering, taking what they want, whether it's minerals, animals, anything. So it's very important that the voices from the areas that are being how do you say, that are being pillaged. These places, we need the voices from there. And I'm very proud to introduce to you, everybody, my good friend, Thulani. And let's see, is he on there? Hey, Thulani.
Hey, how are you, Eric?
It's good to see you today, my friend. Hey, there we go. Thank you for coming back on the show. I'm sorry last week we had some issues, so I'm glad you're back.
Thank you so much, guys.
Let's see, and who do we have with us today?
I think I was having a technical issue.
Luckily we're here today. So, and Heather's with us. Hey, Heather, thanks for joining us today. And hey, Rachel, thank you for joining. And I'm very excited. Thulani, why don't we start off with, I would really like to hear what brought you into making documentaries and projects.
Yeah, so it's all about loving the nature of environment. Since I was born in a village whereby we live close to the game reserve, so I think it was very important for me telling the story, the untold story within our village. So specifically when it comes to documentaries that educate our community, and it's also all about campaigns, running campaigns within the community whereby I tell those stories like for people, for the world to understand out there.
Now, Thulani, approximately how big is your hometown or your village?
Can you repeat the question, Eric?
Yes, about how large is your village?
I'm not focusing only in our village. I'm focusing more into the villages where specifically they are next to the game reserve within our provinces in South Africa. So that's where exactly I'm focusing on, because I think it's very important for them to understand and to conserve nature and to educate people within the ones that are close to the reserves.
So what I'd like to know is tell us about the project you've been working on recently. I'm going to put a couple of images up while you're talking too.
Yeah, so
of some of your beautiful work. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
okay. I've been talking more about the project that I was working on recently is about a human-wildlife conflict, which we were shooting in two provinces, Mpumalanga and Limpopo. So basically, it's where we go and film that story and human-wildlife conflict within the communities of Mpumalanga and Limpopo. So we have seen that it's very much important for us to tell that stories, educating people within the boundaries of the reserves to know more about human wildlife conflict, because we recently have in that community there was a problem whereby um, and so we went there and then interviewed that person, like what happened for us, and then he tell us the story, what happened about the animals in him. And it's very, we have to bring awareness within the community and, the reserve. And then it's very important for us because within the province and for whereby the close to the reserve they used down and then animals were coming in the community sometimes with firewood in the reserve. So imagine if like we have a lot of people like going to the reserve and then they fetch firewood, they cut the trees down, they cut the fence.
Oh no, we lost Thulani.
It means in the next future we will not have uh, that will not like our coming children, they will not understand more about the human the conservation like we have in South Africa, the beautiful landscape that we have, and the nature that we have. So it will need in our communities. I think most communities in a village they don't understand more about animals. So for us or for me to go and film that story, it was more about raising awareness, making people aware. That is very important to conserve nature.
You kind of froze there for a quick second. Okay, there you go. You're back. Yes, there you go. Can you hear me? Okay. So
yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Sorry, I think our internets they're not cooperating with us today. So you know, what effects have you seen? And this is always something that I find as a documentary filmmaker is a bit of plus and minus. It's very difficult because a lot of times you want to see more effects, you know, from the projects that we make, but they're very challenging to get people to watch and to listen and to contemplate or to consider what our subjects are saying in the projects. Have you seen some good positive effects from the videos, or what would you like to see changed as a result of exposing these stories?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. The most important that I want to see the change is nature. If people they can love nature, if the reserve like it's more like building a relationship within the community and the reserve. I think that is the most important thing. So if we as communities work together with the reserve, it's more important because it means like, and if animals that, if like, for example, if we can have animals that come within the reserve to the community, if a reserve and a community they have that relationship, it means those animals that are coming within the community, they will be saved. Because like, imagine like living in a reserve whereby there is no connection between the reserve and the community. Obviously, if we don't have that relationship within the reserve, it means we'll have a problem. We'll always have a problem within our, our villages, meaning that human wildlife conflict will always continue. But like, as I know, it's a big challenge in Africa. It's trying to control. We are either we can control it. We might not stop it today or tomorrow, but we can control it. So it's more like building the relationships, making people aware to understand more and about animals in the community. Why should we conserve nature, and why should community that if we and what are the benefits from the reserve if they have good relationship with the community.
Fantastic. I think you really struck upon it here is the unity, the unification of everybody working towards a solution together. So often we hear about animal human conflicts in terms of poaching or in terms of good guys and bad guys. And it's not quite that clear cut, right? It's a lot of people that are all trying to find solutions one way or the other. And I love what you're talking about, the fact that if we can unify and get that connection between where the animals are and the villages and the towns where people are having conflicts with these animals, which, sometimes can be very problematic for the people that live there, and they become victims of other aspects of what's happening to the animals, right? Like if their food is being taken, then, sometimes they may wander into villages or crop areas looking for food when normally they would already have everything available. And so it's really important what your work is, I think, Thulani, because you're showing us firsthand the thoughts of everybody that has to live in that type of a thing. And only then can we really start to think about solutions and remove this simplified good guy, bad guy type of thinking when it comes to animal wildlife conflict. And so I think it's really important, and it's something that everybody needs to see. And before we leave today, we'll make sure that we have some links so we can get everybody over to see your work and to help support you in any way that they can. And Thulani, Kristen says hi. I just wanted to let you know she's on the show with us. Hey, Kristen, thank you for joining us today. And hey, Amy, thank you for joining. And I know Heather wants to talk to you about a biocoal potential program. And so I'll make sure you guys get connected after the show. Carol's with us. Hey, Carol, love is always the answer. And that's another incredible thing is that you're telling a story that comes from a perspective of loving both the communities and the animals that they're sometimes in conflict with and sometimes in cooperation with. Do you think that there is a peaceful way forward, or how do you see the future of these types of conflicts?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. I think if we can change, if we can bring like more programs in the community. Sorry, programs that teach in the community, that it can help, because if we can bring that programs in the community, people will feel like more I'm part of the environment, whereby we educate people about why should we conserve nature. We teach people more about animal human behavior, which it's part of the things that the community need to understand more. So if people will understand the animal, and this is what I have to do, because imagine like if an animal come out from the reserve and then I come across it, I don't know what to do. I don't have that knowledge. It means I will always have a problem. So if we can have more programs in the community whereby people are getting lessons more about environment, if we can, especially school programs, if community people, they can be employed, if we can have like campaigns in the community, more specifically more about human wildlife conflict, I think that it can solve the issues, because people, they lack knowledge, and then without knowledge, it means we'll always have problem.
Yeah, beautifully said. And that's very important. And that is something that you can do, to help everybody else that's not directly involved, so that when they do have that experience, or they know somebody in a similar situation to that, they have a handle of solutions instead of just being able to see the problems. And I think that's a huge value that your work offers. What can you tell us also about the internet project? Hey, Julie, thanks for joining. I just want to say hi to a few people that are here. Lil Nikki says being able to live alongside each other, animals and humans alike. I agree. So there's somebody else that's got that. Carol says we have to keep those wildlife corridors open for wildlife and not restrict movement, migration. Let's see. And Heather says there was a man attacked by a lion a few weeks ago. The man lived, the lion did not. Wildlife encroachment is a problem for both human and wildlife. And we have it's not telling me who this is. Somebody said hi, Thulani. You've got a pretty big fan base, I would say. You seem to work with a lot of people over there. Right? And Sherry says we're all connected. We are all part of nature. Heather says we've discussed electric fencing, but where electric is not available in many areas, this becomes an issue. Community action and education is the key. What are your feelings on those ideas about fences, or how do you see that from being out in the field? Let's see. Okay. Well, while we're waiting, I think Thulani's internet's coming back here. Carol says, yes, environmental education in the schools, communities is proactive. It works because children tell their parents what they've learned. It's a ripple effect. Great idea, Thulani. And I couldn't agree more. I totally agree with you, Carol. I think what Thulani's doing is incredible. And everybody has to remember that Thulani is working in places with limited internet, places sometimes where he has to take his resources out with him and he's out in the field. Sometimes he's in places that have limited resource. And there's not a lot of money being allocated to filmmakers like Thulani. And so Thulani has to do it on his own. So we have to remember that this man not only is doing the impossible, but he's doing it selflessly. He's doing it for the message and the story. And that's one thing I do find amongst all conservation filmmakers, eco-documentarians. There's two different groups. There is the group that's only going to move if they have $1 million from Netflix. And there's the group that can't sleep at night until the project's done. and it's a different group. You know, you have very dispassionate, beautiful documentaries being put out all the time, but you have some of the most passionate, important documentaries. And I think one of the biggest things is that these documentaries need to come from the voices of the people living in the conflict zones. You know, it's very important for me as a documentarian when I go to work to talk to people, listen to people, and to use their voice. You know, my job is often to just go and learn, which is an amazing job. Well, it's not really a job. Nobody pays me to do it, but it is incredible experience. And you go and you learn and you listen, and the more you listen, the more you learn. You know, the old expression, two ears, one mouth. And it's true. You know, when you're in the field, you can learn from so many people. And as I always say on the show, you know, we are an entire encyclopedia of knowledge, all of humanity. And if we all connect and we all talk, you know, there's so many issues, especially right now in the world where people are very polarized. And Thulani talked about unity, and only through unity do we have comprehension, and only through comprehension do we have solution. And we need to think forward. Pointing at something and saying that's a problem is, everyone can see what the problem is. You know, there's no big expose. We all know the problem, but the question is, what's the solution? And that's a more difficult aspect to find. And the only way we're going to find it is if we talk to each other, because this side and that side do not have any answers. Only the two sides sort of coming together, debating stuff. You know, if differing opinion, you know, a lot of people don't like to talk to people that have differing opinions. I personally do, because the way I see it is, as you know, an old expression in reggae says, iron sharpens iron. So if you have an idea and someone else has an opposing idea, and you two start to sharpen each other's ideas, in the end, what's going to come out is a solution. So we need to get away from this concept of polarized me, them, us, they, me. All that is not going to save us or help us in any way, shape, or form. So let's see. Okay, Carol, I just wanted to catch up with everybody's comments here. It's so great to have an active show like this. I love having everybody on the show talking. This is what it's all about. You know, we're an eco family, and we really need to stay together, because if you're like me, a lot of times you can't talk about this stuff at the dinner table. People would prefer to not discuss this. So it's important that we all come together and talk, and then we can start to build bridges with people that aren't as interested in the topics that we are. And let's see, I think we have Thulani back. I'm going to go ahead and bring him back on here. And let's see, Thulani, hey, are you back with us? I know. So this brings me to another story that Thulani's working on currently. And this is about internet in his area. And if you go to Thulani's Facebook page, you can check out what he's working on. And one of the projects is about trying to bring more internet to the village, bring more connectivity to the areas where people really need that type of connection. So his work is a wide span. All he's trying to do is say, look, we can solve this. We can do this together. We can fix this. And I find his work very inspirational. And I didn't really want to bring it out too early, but I'm very proud to announce that Thulani and I are working on a project together. Can't go into too many details about the project, but we are going to be shooting, and we plan to have the movie out by next year. And we're going to be working together. It's a true honor to get to go and work with somebody like Thulani, somebody who is so passionate and so devoted to his craft, his, I think to all of humanity and to all of the animal kingdom too. So the guy is, to me, he is a big inspiration, and it's definitely an honor to get to work with him. And let's see, I think we can bring him back in. Hey, Thulani, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. So let's see. Somebody asked if you needed a volunteer. Can people that want to help you, how would they best get in touch with you?
So they can go to my Facebook page, which is Thulani Nghonyama. I think you can share the link with them. And then I'm also going to drop my Instagram name on the comments, and then they can keep in touch with me.
Okay, awesome. Okay, good news. Yeah, so we'll put the links up so everybody can follow Thulani through Instagram as well as Facebook and reach out to him. He's very responsive, and I know that he'll respond and talk to anybody here. Kibby 426. Eric, this is why I follow him. He's always happy to chat about his ideas. Remarkable young man. And that's what somebody had to say about your work, Thulani. I know you're always in the field, so you probably don't hear this very often. And Julie is a fan as well and says congratulations. And let's see, Sherry says, thank you, Eric, for speaking for nature always. I think that's what it is, right, Thulani? Like, we'll say whatever we need to defend the land, the animal, the environment, and the people that we love as it is. What kind of challenges have you faced in the field with your stories? Are people supportive, or do sometimes people not want you kind of meddling in these stories?
Yeah, it's quite challenging because sometimes when you go to a field, like I think like there's still areas where people they don't understand why should you tell those stories. Some of them they think like you are telling those stories to make money, and then yet you are telling the story to save their life, to making sure that you conserve the nature. Because I believe that as a filmmaker, me going down to the field telling those stories is more like I'm protecting our land, I'm protecting for the environment for the next coming generation. And it's not only helping myself, but it's also helping our communities. Imagine like if we don't have animals, it means we are not going to have jobs creations for our people in the community. If we don't conserve the nature, it means um, there will be no job creations. There will be no guests coming to South Africa because tourism it's playing a big role, especially in our environment as a South African. Like it boosting our economy to that point whereby people are getting jobs, and then our economy is growing because of tourism. So for me, is conserving telling that story to conserve nature for the next generation. So sometimes it's quite challenging. People they don't understand why should we tell that stories. They don't understand why should we always come around seek for information. They think you want to make money with those stories without forgetting them, giving back to the community. Yet you want to protect them. Yet you want to educate them. So it's more like
I think Thulani's reconnecting with us. Okay, well, while we're waiting for him to reconnect, I think what Thulani said was absolutely brilliant and so spot on. People see a camera and they assume that we're living this easy life, and I don't think people understand. There's no money in documentary. We're not we're not really doing this for money. There's something more important, and it takes all kinds, right? And so there's people like us that are kind of dreamers and want to find solutions. But again, if you don't have transparency and you don't have education, you're not going to have a conversation. If you're not going to have a conversation, you're not going to find a solution. And I think what Thulani does is really amazing to me because he goes into places where people are happy with the way things are and says, no, we need to look forward. And it brings up another amazing point, which is simply that, until now, the majority of the world has been animal exploitative in the sense that food comes from animal exploitation and killing. Transportation comes from animal exploitation. A lot of scientific advancements come from animal exploitation. We, for the last couple hundred years have seen ourselves as masters of this domain. And in our driver's seat, we have turned the car directly and sped up heading towards the brick wall. We are not good stewards of the land. We are not good keepers of nature. We don't understand nature, and we don't understand what it needs. Nature often thrives where we leave it alone. And I think that what we're seeing is a change now where people are trying to say, look, animals are worth more alive than dead. And we have seen this everywhere. And for people that don't think in terms of 7 generations ahead, or they don't think in terms of what's good for nature or what's good for your grandkids, you know, these people only can understand money. And even on that level, we have to kind of try to convince them. And I think what Thulani's doing, and what a lot of filmmakers do, is try to say, look, the value is in a live animal. The value is in bringing tourists. You know, if you have one elephant and you chop it up and you sell the tusks for ivory, for things like piano keys, you know, people are not going out and poaching for their own benefit. People are going out because Western markets demand these products and pay well for it. So it's just as much our fault as it is the guy who's doing the poaching. Each and every one of us bear responsibility for this. So, you know, we have these Western markets that are driving this poaching industry that's creating a lot of these issues. But if a village can learn, hey, you know, this animal is worth more alive as a tourist destination than, you know, as a one-time chop up, that's the kind of fundamental change in thinking we need to take place over the next 10, 20 years to preserve what we have left. Sherry says, Thulani is spot on. If there's not nature, humans will not exist. We are part of nature. Absolutely. Carol says, we are all connected, human, earth, ocean, wildlife. We have to stop the ecocide. And we do, and that's a term that's not used not used enough. Ecocide is happening continuously between deforestation, a lot of poaching, and again, I'm curious, I want to get everybody's opinion. What's the difference between a hunter and a poacher? Love to hear your thoughts. It's a very difficult debate because, you know, 200 years ago, it was a different situation than it is today, and have things adapted to where they are today. You know, is fishing a good idea? Is it a good idea to take fish out of the ocean when all of our fisheries are collapsing? Not to mention the stuff people are eating from that fish that is insanely unhealthy. But what's happening, you know, again, animal exploitation is our basis of our history, but it's not the foundation of our future. So that's just, you know, one of the thoughts. By the way, everybody, if you can, try to go to, there's a great website. Here, let me put it in the comments. It's called rebalance.earth. Rebalance.earth. And it's a program that a friend of mine, Ian Redmond, is working on. And what they're doing is they are trying to, through blockchain, pay small villages and tribes to keep the animals alive, to pay them for the work they're doing. And what they're doing is they're taking carbon tax money from major corporations. And it's a system that's been designed by the IMF, and it's already in place with some villages and elephants as a trial. So very cool. Let me put that down because I want everybody to go to this website and check it out. You guys will love it. And it's a really great new way because, you know, a lot of people get mad at me, but I do say that nothing we've done works. Every idea we've had, there you go, rebalance.earth. Every idea that we have had so far has come through the filter of money. That's not going to solve anything. You know, there's a lot of people doing a lot of work, great work, and there are great sanctuaries. But at the same time, this entire system, and, you know, if a sanctuary is open to the public, it's not really a sanctuary. I've been to great ones where they don't even bring the public in. Now, how do you fund it? That's a whole other topic. But again, how do we get away from animal exploitation as a path forward? Because we have literally used everything, destroyed everything in our pursuit of simplicity, and it's not going to do that. Let's see. Heather says, Ian is brilliant. So much respect for him and his work. Absolutely. And Ian is going to be part of the Harambe documentary, which is coming out this year. So look forward to everybody checking it out. We're going to have, we'll hopefully be coming out by the fall. So we're still working on it, but it is a project that will challenge the sense of captivity today. You know, and when you think about it, you would not go to the dentist if they were using 1880 practices. You would not go get a surgery if it was 1880 style. You probably aren't going to drive the car that you have to crank open from the 1800s. Why is the captivity industry, and especially the zoo model, the same as it was in the 1880s? It's gone nowhere. It's advanced nowhere. And the story of Harambe, through working with people like Born Free Foundation in the UK, and Ian, is to take that story and say, let's challenge where we are by what we've seen happen. Because again, any solution from before isn't going to work, and none of them have. We need to rethink conceptually, foundationally, about a way to move forward, and it has to be done without animal exploitation. That we are going to collapse what little biodiversity we have left. And I have seen personally the fishing places depleted. You know, it's a fantasy that people think that there's fishing grounds still. Sadly, one of the MPAs was recently opened in the United States, up in New England, and it was a real tragedy. A lot of eco groups tried to prevent it, but this is the problem: is that the capitalist money said we need this, and the MPA failed as a result. And so now you got these people, you know, bringing their trawlers and their drag nets and destroying essential coral in what used to be a protected area. So, you know, the world is not abundant. As a matter of fact, it's on limited resources as we speak. And I think all of us here probably already know that. And we're all here trying to talk about how do we save what we have. You know, scientists say anywhere from 5 to 20 years, we are going to completely collapse our biodiversity in our world. A lot of people think that's a depressing fact, but it's not. Because if you think about it, what better time to be alive? Like, all of us are agents of change. All of us can change the future. All of us are here and alive in one of the most important times in nature's survival. And we can be part of it, you know? 100 years ago, it might not have been so urgent. Of course, 100 years ago, they didn't have plastics, so it wasn't as urgent. There were no microplastics. They weren't exploiting things on such a grand level. So we got to roll with the times. Let's see. Heather says, ego and greed, the difference between doing it for the cause versus applause. Fantastically said. I really like that. Cause versus applause. It's so true. Carol says, to me, trophy hunters are poachers. Over 20,000 members in Safari International Club coming to Africa to slaughter tuskers, lions, zebras, all wildlife for nothing more than ego. Very true. You know, it's a complicated thing, because a lot of the canned hunting people will say, well, you know, we put our money back into conservation. So there's always that question of, are hunters our frontline conservationists? I'm curious to see what everybody thinks. You know, my opinion doesn't matter, but I think I would love to hear what other people's ideas are, because, you know, what is the difference? If we remove all of our man-made definitions of things, what's the difference? Either way, you're still removing an animal from nature, and can nature afford that? Is another question I might pose. Heather, the Animal Welfare Act for primates hasn't been updated since the 1980s. Very true. Although animal welfare, I think, is kind of a problem, because animal welfare presupposes captivity. And this is another conflict, and I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on this. There are animal rights and there is animal welfare, and the two are not connected. Animal welfare says we're going to make sure the chickens aren't sad before we kill them. That's animal welfare. Animal rights says stop killing chickens. So two very different approaches. We always talk on the show about the difference between environmentalists and conservationists, right? Environmentalists say leave nature alone. Conservationists say it's there for us. We just need to manage it. So it's a very fascinating thing. And I think it's something that, and I ask people, are you a conservationist or environmentalist? And people will say, I'm a conservation environmentalist. You can't be. You can't have the two philosophies because they butt heads. So the question is, what are we? Before we were a weird group, a small group of us. And so we could be anything, whatever. I'm a conservationist, environmentalist. But as time goes on, resources dwindle. We need to potentially redefine that aspect. Just something I wanted to throw out there. Let's see. Okay. All right. Heather says, it's steps. Many will easily digest small bites versus the whole sandwich. And that's a good point. And that's one thing I agree with is that, the more that we do, we need to do it in little bits because people get overwhelmed by conservation and think there's nothing I can do to make a change. Well, that's so wrong. That's something that you've been told by the people that don't want anything to change because they're making money the way things are. So remember, we all are part of the solution. We all are part of the answer. We're all part of the future, and we can all change the future, and all of us have that power. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And I think what Thulani's doing is an amazing example of that because he is making sure that people have that education and that information to make more informed decisions. Hey, Thulani, you're back. Hey, everybody, we got Thulani back, and this is perfect because we got about 10 more minutes here, and I'm glad you're back because we wanted to talk to you a little bit more. Okay, so Thulani, I wanted to ask you about your newest project about the internet.
Yeah. So I'm quickly organizing an course called it's more like about studying guide online. So whereby I'm working with this company called African Wizard. So they're more like recruiting like young people in the community. We teach them about guides, like you study guide online, which is a naturalist, and then from there we link them to the game reserve whereby they will learn more about, they will work as a guide, field guide trackers and everything. So it's more like teaching kids in a community or young people in the community whereby they understand more about the course when it comes to geology course, more about our culture. It also includes like human animal behavior. So it's more about that. So that's why like I want an internet in the community because without internet it means we cannot access what's happening in the world. And another reason like why I think internet is more important in our community, it's because we have like young people in the community who want to apply in the schools, but like if we don't have that access to internet, like it means we are not going anywhere. And nowadays, like we have COVID, as all one know, like we have COVID issues in every part of the world. So it means people they have to study online, and then without internet, it means they will fail to submit the assignment. They will fail to reach their plans. So that's another thing. Yeah.
So it's
So
so
I also
important.
have like an iPhone photographer which I want to bring to the community. Yeah, I also have like an iPhone program which I want to bring to the community. It's more like empowering like women in in the community whereby we link them to the game reserve where they can use iPhone to take pictures in the reserve and market their own small businesses within the community. So it's more like teaching them how to market their stuff in the internet and also like engaging them, giving them that opportunity to engage them to the wildlife. So I think it's more important. Imagine like a woman in a community holding an iPhone, shooting a beautiful elephant. It means that they will give them like an opportunity to understand more why should we conserve nature because they have opportunities to go to the reserve. They also have an opportunity to take pictures with these phones, like showing them to the world. Like, so if someone take a picture with a small phone, putting them in Instagram, and then they have like more than 100 likes or whatever likes, it means you're like, okay, this means like people are liking my stuff, and then I have to conserve the nature. So it's more like trying to engage also older people in the reserves, because I have noticed that in most cases we are focusing more into the schools, but like even the older people, we have to engage them to the conservation part, or to be part of the conservation, because in most cases like women are being left out when it comes to photographer, when it comes to filmmaking, especially black women in our community. They feel like they're left out. They feel like, oh, this is not for me, this is for maybe men. But like photographer or filmmaking is not more like for us as a men, it's for everyone. So me trying to engage them to that field, I feel like it's more a blessing, because like I'm part of the community. I went to school for this, helping by a reserve like that they sponsored me for to study filmmaking in Cape Town. So it's me trying to share my skills by empowering like black women in the community, whereby they will use like cell phone to tell the story. If I have that cell phone, it means like you have an equipment that can tell the story. It means like everyone does have that voice. So they fail to understand, how can I tell the story? Another thing is like, if yes, I can take the phone with my pictures, but like if I don't have an internet, it means I will end up giving, like maybe I'll give up, or maybe I don't know where to tell the story. I don't know where to put
Mm.
this thing in. It's more like empowering the community, giving back my skills, and also engaging like the community people with the environment.
That's fantastic. Empowerment is one of the most important things that we can do, and I really, applaud you. That's really important work, and I love that you're so inclusive, and you want to show everybody that they have the opportunity to show us the world through their eyes, and that is what it's all about. Trying to see the world from other perspectives. Um, so that I really think that that's fantastic, and we do find that a lot of times people they feel intimidated or left out, and it's important that everybody feels like they can be part of the solution, because they can, and yeah, we're I really I think that's so critical, what you're doing. So I'm excited to see all the projects you've been working on as they start to continue to to gain steam, and all your work. And again, everybody go to Thulani's website, which is hisname.com. Go to his Facebook page. Go to his Instagram. While we have Thulani on for a few more minutes, if anybody has direct questions for Thulani, please put them in the comments, and then we'll ask them directly. Thulani, one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I think this is a very cool thing in conservation people don't talk enough about, is this photo you have here of eco bricks. Now, for people that aren't familiar with eco bricks, these are plastic bottles that, plastic cannot be ever removed from the environment. The amount of plastic we have never changes. It just gets melted into different things. And one great eco approach is to fill them and put them in construction as eco bricks. What did you think when you saw the eco brick, and how often is it used? And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, for the eco brick, what are your thoughts on that? What did you think when you first saw people using that? And is it widespread? Is it used a lot?
Yeah, I think ecobricks is more important, because imagine if like we can have thousands of people building bricks. It means like our water will always be clean. Our animals will be safer more by having that drinking water that is not clean, and it means our environment, it will not be clean. So we need healthy water to survive. We need healthy water for our animals, our livestock. we are tracing next to the game reserve, so it's very important to keep our water clean. So it also like a job creation for some women there. Imagine if we can have women like those like women in the community going around cleaning the environment, collecting those 2 liters, making an eco bricks. It means someone will have like will have something in his pocket. So it's a job creation for someone. So but it's also like conserving nature on the other side. So we are playing like two parts at the same time, creating jobs and also saving our environment. We live and close to the reserve. Obviously, we expect our reserve to be clean. We expect our environment to be clean. We expect our water to be clean. So it's more like educating people, why should we do this. So if we can have campaigns more about this, like why is it eco bricks more important, if we can run like make those campaign happening out there in the field, in the schools, in the community, so our environment will always be clean, and people in the community, they have job opportunities, and our livestock will be also safer than maybe eating plastics. Maybe fish in the rivers, they will also be saved, because there will be more littering around. There will be more rubbish all over. We still have communities that are using water in the rivers to drink, surviving using those waters. So if we don't conserve, if we don't understand more about eco breaking, it means people's life will be in danger, our livestock will be in danger, our environment will not be safe. And at some point, I remember we have a river that goes to the reserve. So imagine if people are dropping littering in the reserve, in the river that flows to the reserve. What will happen to the animals that are in the reserve? It's not more about animals, but it doesn't affect only the animals in the reserve, but it does affect us as a community, because we have livestock. We have people who are using that water to survive. We have our kids sometimes that jump to the streams. So I think people need knowledge. Why should I not do this? Why should I do this? Why is it important? What are the after effects of me dropping littering in the reserve, in the dam, in the stream? So that's why I'm always going out with my camera, telling those stories that's happening in our reserve, because I believe that God created the beauty, and then me and my cameras were about to show that, well, the beauty, and then someone have to tell that story to conserve that beauty, which is me trying to tell those stories.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And, Thulani, I read a quote, it reminded me of you. I thought you would like it. They say, in a feature film, the director is God. In a documentary, God is the director. So, it's similar to to what you're just saying, I think. So, and Carol wanted to say, Thulani, I hope you have many helpers helping you to get more of your messages out there. It's so important. Thank you for your loving nature and helping people understand how they are part of nature, not a part from it. And that is very critical. Lil Nikki says, totally agree with what he's saying, getting everyone involved locally and understanding that the wildlife is worth much more alive. So, so your work is reaching people. I've learned a lot by just knowing you, talking to you, and seeing your work as well. Sherry says, create community. It's not just the person next door, but who is supporting you within your tribe. Lil Nikki, talking about Thulani, says he has brilliant passion, which I can agree. Ever since we first started talking, you're very focused. You just want to get the stories told. And, I think it's amazing, because I think what a lot of people don't get is how hard it is for us to even get our cameras in the field. It's a challenge, and we don't get paid to do it. We tend to pay to do it. Dan von Koppenel says, imagine how many Twitter followers Elon Musk can obtain if he deploys his Starlink internet service in Africa. Could be a good thing. Sherry wants to know, Thulani, where do you acquire your water? Is it from the local river source, or do they have treatment plants, or people on well water?
So we do have taps in our community, helping by a company called African Within. So sorry, it's I forget the name of the company, but we do have a water that they build like a bowl. They have like built a borehole for the community and trying to help so that people can have healthy water. So we do have water, but still there are still some communities that they don't have water. Water is still like more a problem. So in our community we do have healthy water, and thanks to that company that they have installed that borehole in the community. So we do have a healthy water in the community, helping by this company that they have give back to the community.
Okay, that's good. It's amazing how many communities have difficulties getting access to clean water, and it's one of those things that is so natural to us. It's like the first breath from a baby. It's natural to us, and it's terrible that we have destroyed a lot of our own water resources. We're an odd species, huh? Like humans, we destroy the very things we need to survive, and and then just change how we view that. So I think it's really important the work you're doing, keeping your camera in the field, keeping everybody informed, and letting us understand how the world works. And I think that's this beautiful time that we live in, where we can see around the world and we can understand everybody's struggle. And you know what? It's unique in its own way, and it's also universal in every other way. So the work you're doing is really important, and I just want to thank you for your work. I wanted to ask you if you could give some advice to a young filmmaker or to somebody that sees things happening around that they want to tell the stories about and want their voice and their community to be heard. What advice do you have for them? Okay, well, he's going to reconnect in 1 second. Want to get these last parting thoughts from Thulani, an incredibly inspirational filmmaker, somebody that goes out and tells the stories because they need to get told. They're not waiting to somebody to give them money for them to go do their thing. And I think that, to me, is the mark of a true eco-warrior, and a true, maybe that's what it is. It's not environmentalist or conservation anymore. It's eco-warriors, or maybe eco-defenders, eco-users, and there's eco-defenders. And Thulani is one of the most inspirational eco-defenders I have met. I'm thrilled to be able to work with him and to be able to help in any way that I can with his projects, which, again, I'm a big fan. It's his name. You can go to, and you can find it right there on the website. You can go to his website, you can go to his Instagram, or you can go to his Facebook page, reach out to Thulani, say hi, let him know that what he's doing is something that is important to all of us, locally, regionally, universally. And you know what? All the solutions are going to come from that: local, regional, universal. And that's the way. That's the only way we can move forward. And as Thulani said, we need to empower and unify and educate. So, well, it looks like Thulani might be a little bit frozen. Thulani certainly has educated me. And this is, let's see, let me come back up. I know, I'm so sorry. I think, 1 second, it's Kristen, I believe. I don't want to get your name wrong. So I really appreciate you being here today. Okay, so Thulani, I'm not sure if you can still hear us. Carol says, thank you both. You're wonderful men doing amazing things for nature and all of us. Thank you, Carol, but I appreciate it. I feel like I can always be doing a lot more, and to be able to talk to people like Thulani is to be able to take the conversation up a next level. and help us with some ideas on how we can change our futures, which all of us are connected. So if we change our future, we're changing the future of everybody around us for the positivity. And that sense of community is very beautiful. And not every culture has it, and not every town has it. So I think it's really important that Thulani focuses on that. Sherry says, please contact my friend Moses. He can help those communities without water. MosesWestFoundation.org. Okay. So Thulani, I will make sure that you and Sherry get in touch in any way that we can help. And that's, that's what I love about this eco family that we have, this group of us here. We all have amazing contributions. We all have great ideas, and we all have ways that if we just work together, we can keep moving forward. So unfortunately, I think we've lost our connection with Thulani. I would have loved to have had him back. Oops, there he is. But for now, unfortunately, we're not able to fully connect with him. But he's an amazing guest, and I have gotten a few messages, people asking me if we can bring him on again. So what I'd like to do is bring him back next month. We'll catch up with where the projects are. Kristen, thank you. Thank you, Kristen. I do apologize. Yes, thank you for being here on the show today with us. It's fantastic to get to meet you and to hear every thoughts here. Thank you, Heather, for being on the show with us. Thank you, Sherry. I want to say I know Heather does a lot of eco work. She is always out trying to find new solutions to problems, and she's always trying to connect things. She does run a foundation that has been helping create eco-based solutions in poor villages and areas in Congo. So she's very passionate about trying to bring real world solutions, eco solutions to villages that need them the most. So I wanted to thank everybody for being here. Sherry, I know, fights for the environment all the time. And it's great to meet my new friends as well that are on this episode. Thanks everybody for joining us. And we do have Thulani here, so we'll just it looks like our signal's not going to come back. So we'll bring him back. Please go check out his work. It's inspirational, fascinating, and empowering. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate you coming to join us. It's great to have the conversation back going. Remember to keep the conversation going, even with people that don't always want to find a way. Let's build bridges, not walls. Let's build more bridges. Let's talk about more topics. Let's get more heads involved, and let's find some solutions that can work for everybody moving forward in unity. All right, great to see everybody again, and we'll be back for a new show. Well, we have another show coming up at 1 o'clock, and then we'll be back for weekly shows from there forward. So Heather, if I can make any helpful connections, I'll be glad to help. Thank you, Heather. I'll make sure you and Thulani connect as well. All right, everybody. Thank you. It's great to be able to sit down, talk to everybody, and get our eco group back together. All right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon.